Good morning. I am Megan Terry here with Kevin from Alveole. Hello, Kevin. Good morning.
Good morning.
And we're going to have a short interview talking about urban beekeeping. Very
Yes.
excited to have you and to learn a little bit more about how you take care of your hives in the city of Houston.
Of course.
So can you tell me a little bit about Alveole, how it got started, and what you do here in Houston?
Of course. Well, like I said, my name is Kevin Kohli. I am the urban beekeeping manager for Alveole.
Cool.
Alveole was founded by three best friends who actually in their younger days spent the summers beekeeping with one of their uncles in the rural parts of Canada. They would spend their summers going out and all day, all night, or all day for the entire summer working beekeeping on a large scale bee farm. And then during the winter months, they would go back and they'd go to school in Montreal. During this time, over the years, they started to notice a disconnect between the two sides of their lives. This rural connection with nature, being with the hives, being with the bees, and seeing the flow and cycle of their environment, and then going back to the city center and seeing this disconnect with people who lived in the concrete jungle.
Right.
And it was 7 years ago that they decided to start their company, Alveole. The main goal of the company is to make people fall in love with bees, therefore making them fall in love with nature and completely changing their understanding and their desire to have a complete connection with nature and their responsibility for it.
Right.
So what we do here at Alveole is, unlike mass scale beekeepers where we are out in the countryside with thousands and thousands of hives, we actually beekeep here in the city. Today we are here in the memorial area, in the Galleria, at the Transwestern building with our beautiful hive right here on the deck, and it's a beautiful sunny day.
Nice. Yeah, it is.
As you can see, we're right in the middle of the city, and this is where we love to do it. A big thing we've found out with the company is it's all about environmental understanding and impact. And in city centers, there is a massive impact of what the city has. It consumes far more than it produces.
Right.
And so we're actually making an effort to try and reinvigorate and redesign cities. Rooftops are a major area within the city that are underused. They're essentially dead space that serves no purpose.
Right.
And we go around, we install and maintain these beehives, rooftops, courtyards, and other unused spaces all around the city to promote pollinators and really help the local environment. In addition to this, our main goal is really education.
Right.
We produce honey, it's a wonderful benefit, but we really want to teach people about bees and teach people about the nature around them. And so with our services, we actually offer workshops and classes. We work with businesses and schools, all kinds of organizations. We luckily can bring people out and we can show them firsthand that, as you can see, the bees are actually quite gentle,
Right.
and they're nothing to worry about. These girls are super friendly. When they're out, all they care about is collecting resources, pollen, nectar, and making honey, and they're actually very friendly.
Right. And so where would be the closest resource from them, or how far do bees actually go to collect?
Of course, bees
Pollen.
actually have about a 3-mile radius they forage,
Wow.
and that makes it very fascinating. We have clients all over the city, but the really unique thing is the local footprint it has. Here in this area at Transwestern, we have a lot of beautiful things. We have the Arboretum, we have wonderful bayous everywhere,
Right.
we have the landscaping with flowers, and because of that and the 3-mile radius, the honey that is made here from this hive
Right.
will taste completely different and have a completely different profile from honey made in another part of the city.
Right.
It's all hyper local with its own
Right.
complete profile and personality. It's
Yes.
wonderful. And everything around, bees have tons of different things they can forage on. Like I said, any place that has good landscaping, gardening, tons of flowers, anything that's really beautiful you see is generally good food for bees.
Yeah.
But the other wonderful thing is honestly what most people consider to be weeds, a lot of times are great. All those daisies, sunflowers, all kinds of things you see growing in empty lots along the bayous, those are fantastic bee food.
Right. Great. Cool. And if someone was interested from a community garden or a school who works either with Urban Harvest or just in community gardening in general, how would they get started in getting a hive?
Of course. Well, like I said, we work with all kinds of different organizations.
Right.
We work with a lot of large-scale businesses that are great,
Right.
but we also work with schools specifically on education.
Right.
Reaching out to us, we're always fantastic. We'll come in, do a full installation, and do a full take care of your hive. It's a kind of a turnkey service.
Right.
We're actually getting near a point in the season right now where it's the honey harvest, so we're about at the peak.
Yes.
This right here is the largest you will see as a hive.
Okay.
After this, we'll generally get it back down lower and manageable, but the hive goes in cycles throughout the season.
Right.
We can really install our hives anytime throughout, but we love getting them in the spring. That way you can see the full life cycle it goes through.
Yes, awesome. And what's special about bees that people who may know nothing about beekeeping or bees should know?
That's a great question.
There's probably a lot of things. Yeah.
I could go on for hours and hours about all the
Yes.
fascinating things, but I'd say the best one that I can come up with is the parallels and similarities between bees and our own culture and societies, especially here in cities. They share a lot that goes side and side.
Right.
People like to think of bees like any other insect, that it's the individual bee and it's just a bunch of them.
Right.
But there's a concept that comes with bees and beekeeping of the superorganism.
Right.
And that you really consider bees less of individuals and more of cells of a larger creature. The beehive itself is almost an entire singular creature by itself. Each one does its part for the greater good. Everyone knows the idea that bees, they can only sting once and they die afterwards.
Right.
And it's a sacrifice for themselves, but when doing so, they actually do that to protect their own hive. It's not about them, it's about passing on and continuing that their hive exists. Every single bee has a job. They usually have many jobs they carry out to continue on, but they all work in harmony together for the greater good, all caring about each other to keep things moving and make it better. And I think there's a lot of beautiful similarities between that and our idyllic version of a city.
Yes. Yes. Great. And if someone was interested in contacting you guys, how did they go about doing that?
Of course. Well, you can always reach out to myself at houston@alveole.buzz.
Great.
I love our little
Yes.
domain right there. But as well, you can go online and search for us, our website, alveole.buzz. We have tons of great information on there, and you can reach out to any one of our team, and we're always excited to talk bees.
Great. Oh, that's awesome. And so anywhere in Houston, basically, you can set up a hive.
Oh yeah, we're all over the greater Houston area. So here we're in the Galleria.
Right.
We go all the way up to the Woodlands, all the way out to Katy. As all of us native Houstonians know, it's a very, very large city.
Right.
But being a lifelong Texan, driving around on these roads is not unusual.
Yes, yes, cool. Well, I think I'll probably come up with some other questions, but I'm excited to see your girls.
Oh yes, of course. Well, I'll do a quick run through.
Yes, please do.
Of our equipment.
Yeah.
So as
What
you can
would
see,
you need to basically start taking care of bees, right?
yes.
Okay.
So the number one thing right here, this is our Hive Tool.
Okay.
This is the number one thing, most important. As I was taught on my first day, is you treat yourself like this is bolted to your hand. You don't
Right.
put this down. This is
Wow.
the number one thing that does all your jobs for you. It's fantastic.
Okay.
And then this right here is our smoker.
Right.
So bees communicate with pheromones. They actually give off scents to understand all kinds of different things in communication. A big one is a threat. If a bee thinks that the hive is threatened, think that there's something wrong, they'll give off a pheromone. It will alert the other bees something's wrong, and they will have a response.
Right.
What we do is we fill this up. We have some beautiful pine needle here.
Yep.
We get it going, and we just puff a little bit of smoke into the hive. It doesn't harm the bees. It doesn't hurt them. All it does is it blocks it so they can't communicate as well. So when one bee thinks, oh, there's something wrong, gives off a pheromone, the other ones are just sitting there kind of hanging out like, oh,
They
I guess
can smell
everything's fine.
Yeah.
So this is wonderful, a very key beekeeping item.
Okay.
This right here is a standard beekeeping veil. It's something you can take, you can throw over your shoulders and wear, and gives you a little protection from any bees getting up in your face. Honestly, it's there's a lot of people who do great with it, a lot of people who love it. My girls are so wonderful, I don't ever use mine.
Wow. Right.
It shows. Yeah, a lot of people are scared of bees,
Yeah.
and this is what you see me wearing right now. I'm about to get my hands in the hive.
Yeah.
This is what I wear the entire time.
Wow.
To show everyone, Bees aren't to be scared of.
Yes.
They're wonderful. They're helpful. They do everything great for us.
Yes, right. Free ecosystem service, right?
Yes, they keep everything beautiful. We love our wildflowers, and they help produce them.
Yes, great.
So I'm going to get my smoker going,
Okay.
and we're going to take a look inside this hive and see if we can get a look at some real bees.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, make
Oh,
sure
no.
we're tethered here.
Oh, whoops.
You're good.
Oh no, I lost my lighter.
Oh no.
Does anyone happen to have one on them? I don't see either of you smokers.
I might have one.
Oh, I'll tell you what. I think I have an extra one in my
Okay.
backpack. Yes.
Yay!
Always have backup equipment.
Okay, good. Yeah, that is important.
So, take this right here. Pull out just a little handful.
So it basically calms them as well, the smoke, or is it
Yeah.
mostly the pheromone piece?
It blocks the pheromone. It keeps them calm, so there's nothing to worry about with them. It only lasts a little while, and then once you're out of there, they're fine again.
Right.
It's just a temporary to block. Obviously, if people always say, if someone came into your house and ripped off your roof and started poking around and moving your furniture,
Yeah, you'd be
it'd be understandably a little annoyed.
right.
That's also why I'm the only one who goes into the hive and
Yeah.
keep them a little calm.
Yeah.
So, have a couple things. This right here is actually a water feeder.
Okay.
So this is just to give them a little bit. Bees will actually naturally harvest water on their own. They'll go
Right.
pull it back from resources.
Right, right.
But we like to give them this, make it a little easier. Water's pretty heavy.
Yes.
So, gonna go in. Make sure that smoke's nice and cool. Yeah, not gonna hurt them. So just give them a couple puffs of that. A couple puffs underneath there. We're gonna let that go for a second.
Cool. So we're opening up our hive
Yes.
here in the Galleria. Curious who out there keeps bees themselves. Oh, neat.
Yeah, so we have a couple girls hanging around on the inside up here. Give a couple more puffs, make sure everyone's nice and happy.
This is so tough with COVID. I'm trying to keep my 6-foot distance, but I'm gonna have to zoom in so we can get some better shots.
Of course.
Because I'm sure people at home are excited to see.
Here we go. The girls are pumping along. So I'm gonna give them a little shake. I'm gonna put this down here.
And what kind of honeybee did you say these were, Kevin?
Say what?
What's the type of honeybee they are?
The honey will actually be a mixed profile of everything around here. So it's everything that is being produced all over will make different styles.
Okay.
So this honey, I said, is going to have its own unique profile. We'll know in a couple of weeks what it looks like.
Cool.
All right. So this is a nice little frame that they're working on right here. What you can see is all of this right here is actually capped honey, that white wax over top. That means they've brought in nectar, they've dehydrated it down, and they put wax to save it for the winter. All this right here, this darker stuff, that's actually all pollen. You can tell the different colors, you can see all the different styles, that's just from different plants all over.
Right.
That is what they use to make bee bread, which is how they feed their brood, which are eggs, young larvae, and all that.
Yeah.
They give them a little bit of this, a little bit of honey and nectar and everything, and that gets them going.
Right. Cool.
So, let's see if we can get maybe a little bit bigger one.
And those are called frames or panels? What do you call these?
So it's a little hard to see from here, but so pretty much this is a frame that built out. You can see the hexagonal pattern on here. That helps them build out their comb.
Right.
And you slide them in and out. Each one of these boxes is 10 frames across like this, and they build up. Each frame, they build out certain things on them depending on what they need.
Right. And bare hands, no gloves.
Oh, no gloves, no. These girls are far too gentle. I'd be too clumsy with my gloves.
Oh, yeah. That's awesome.
Nice and easy. Here we go. So this
that's cool.
is a full frame of capped honey. You can see all that goodness there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
That's all wonderful and worked out.
And are the frames directly put into a centrifuge?
Yeah, so it's actually a very interesting process where we will, extraction's a multi-step process, but we'll actually take them into a hot room
Right.
which is we get them raised up the temperature so the honey flows a little bit better, and we also help dehumidify it a little bit to keep it going.
Right.
Then we will take it out, we will scrape the wax off the top, and we will put it into a centrifuge and spin it to get all the honey out.
Right.
And because we have these plastic frames you saw with the hexagons on there, it actually keeps all the wax they built out.
Right.
So then next season we can put those frames in there. They don't have to rebuild the wax. They can just start putting honey in it immediately.
Neat.
All right, we're gonna get into one of the lower boxes.
Sure. Cool.
Let's see what you girls are up to.
And does it necessarily mean the lower, the more active? Or?
Generally, so the bees like to put their brood and their eggs in the lower boxes.
Yep.
It's just a little bit more protective for them. Oh, here we go. That's another beautiful frame of honey. So, as you can see right here, all of this uncapped part, that is all nectar. So when they bring nectar in, they'll actually do a fascinating process where the foragers will go pull it out of the flowers.
Right.
They'll put it in their stomach, and then they'll meet another bee at the entrance, and they'll do what they call a bee kiss, and they'll actually give them the nectar. It mixes with a bunch of different enzymes in their stomach, and then they put that into the frame.
Right.
At that point, it's got a higher water content, so they'll actually spend time, they'll dehydrate it, and once it's dehydrated, they get it down like this and they cap it over.
Wow.
That's when it becomes the honey that's good to go.
So, and that's where the honey itself gets these properties of not only helping with allergies, but it's giving you beneficial enzymes, if you will.
Yeah, it's all the wonderful things. In addition to all the properties from the plants, it's the properties that the bees add into it as well.
Right.
A big thing that comes from raw honey that's different than what you find, say, in a plastic bear at the grocery store is that big manufactured bear honey. They will, getting this to make sure it fits.
Yeah, sure.
Beautiful. They actually pasteurize it.
Right.
So what that means is that they will heat it up to a certain point to get it just below boiling.
Yep.
What that does is it keeps it from crystallizing.
Right.
Natural raw honey will actually crystallize in a jar. You've maybe sometimes seen that.
Yep.
They pasteurize it because it makes it look good, it stays liquid. The problem is that takes away all the benefits from it, everything you like, all the parts that help with your immune system, that help with allergies and all that.
Right.
If you have raw honey, it will usually crystallize, put it in some hot water, a little bath of hot water, it turns right back to regular honey.
Nice, cool.
But yeah, so as you can see, this is
Thank
one
you
of
so
our...
much. And they were happy, they're not stinging, they're happy bees.
Yeah, they're wonderful, they're just
Friendly.
doing their thing.
Because they also don't want to sting you because they die.
Yeah, exactly. As we always tell people, is bees really don't care about you at all. They are off doing their thing. The saying busy as a bee is 100% fitting.
Right.
They're off collecting honey, collecting water, collecting pollen, building combs, taking care of bees, attending to the queen, feeding. They have so many jobs from sun up to sundown. They are working.
Right.
And especially when they're outside the hive, if you're ever hanging around outside and you see a bee land on a flower near you, that bee has 1,000 things it's worried about before it's even thinking about you.
Great. One last question, Kevin, I think. How many hives would you say that you have installed in Houston, or how many hives are in this urban landscape?
Oh, man.
Estimate.
We have, I would say, just shy of 40 hives throughout the city right now, all over. We have cities in some of our hometowns like Toronto and Montreal where they're upward of 200.
Wow.
It's a question that sometimes get brought up. People talk about, is there enough food and is there enough density for bees in an urban area?
Right.
And there have actually been multiple studies that have found that bees thrive better in urban areas. People often hear about, the bees are dying. It's a thing that luckily more and more people have understood recently.
Right.
A big issue with that is actually out in the country. Pesticides are a huge issue. Anything that's an insecticide is very harmful to bees, as well as monocultures. Bees thrive in diversity. They love different plants, a mixture. It's healthy having a different thing. If there's giant fields of just one product, it's not great for bees. Luckily in a city, there's so much food everywhere, and actually more bees will help with that effort. They'll help create more wildflowers and make it more friendly for monarchs, butterflies, all kinds of other foraging insects.
Right, great. Well, so great to meet you. Thank you for showing us this hive. If folks have questions, again, you can visit alveole.buzz.
Alveole.buzz.
That is awesome. And then if you're interested in gardening and community gardening and learning how to plant a pollinator garden for our wonderful bees and pollinators, you can visit urbanharvest.org. Thanks so much, Kevin.
Thank you very much.
Take care. Bye.